Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe Podcast, a.k.a. The Pup List. We're a Green Bay Packers fan podcast that brings you topical and relevant Packers news, along with our most humble, subjective opinions. This is episode 322. We're recording this live on Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. The second week of training camp is complete. Just a reminder, this is a video podcast, so head over to our YouTube channel to watch the video. But appreciate everyone following and subscribing to the audio and video. I'm your host, Tay, and joining me back again after a week of hiatus is our one and only
Ren. What up, Tay? I did listen to your solo app last week, Tay. I don't know, have you had your jersey talk fill yet? Are you good? You got it all out of your head, out of your system, or do you want to talk a little bit more throwback 1923 jerseys a little bit?
Well, you got to do it. You got to give the people what they want, Ren, and that was the hot topic, the announcement and release of the 1923 throwback uniforms. Of course, I'm repping the hat again tonight with the JB. The green, or not the green. It's like the blue and brown.
The Blue Bay Packers hat.
The Blue Bay. So I love it. I got to give me some more. I don't know if they'll make any more or new items for it. I think hopefully whatever's out is out. But yeah, I love me some of that stuff. So I know you're not a big fan. Maybe chime in on why you're not. Maybe you have some other followers out there that also agree with you.
I'm just not a big wear it kind of guy. Yeah, there's pieces I like, and when I see them, I buy them. But yeah, it's not my thing. But hey, it's all good. There can be the merch lovers out there like yourself, Tay. That's how they keep the the whole thing going over at the pro shop. That money turning. We were in there. It was asses and elbows all night long or all day long. It was crazy. Like I got a little claustrophobic in there. It was like a rock concert. I was ready to be out of there. So.
Well, I don't buy everything under the sun, Ren. I mean, I pick out stuff I like and get it. But, now that we do a video podcast, I got to rep something, and I love changeover. I got the hats in the background. You can see those. Picked up a few of those. So, yeah, when I see something I like it, I'll get it. And I don't know. As a shareholder, Ren, I'm doing my part. Are you doing yours?
Probably not as much as you are, Tay. Probably not as much.
All right, Ren. Well, it's the second week of training camp, and all the guys are here, right?
They are, indeed. And some are leaving. Some are still. Yeah. I think Alex Hale, not Alex Hale, the other kicker. He's still trying to come. Still has visa issues. Who knows? And then in the meantime, some guys are going to have to leave via the injury.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Don't give away too much here. We got to keep to the script. But let me do my little bumper here for training camp, and we'll get going.
I want you to take me to Chinatown. I want you to take me to Chinatown.
All right, Ren. Titletown's where it's at. Training camp is also in full effect. This is like the ending of the second week. We went, I think, third day of it.
Yep.
And I guess generally speaking, like, it's kind of been a quiet camp for me, I think. Like, I don't know how everyone else feels about it. There's not a whole lot going on, I don't think. Like, you're going to have your storylines, of course, the rookies, right? The Matthew Golden is kicking butt. He's the golden boy, like everyone wanted him to be. So you're going to have those storylines, I think, regardless of what happens. But, there isn't too much stuff going on after Elton came back last week. You kind of have that tampered down. You don't have to worry about a lot. And last week, I was thinking to myself, there haven't been like a ton of injuries, but now they're starting to creep up. And some of them have effects on this team and the roster as we move forward. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. So I'm going to bring this up. And here is my little injury graphic. As of today, this is Wednesday, the 6th, right? The did not participate list was kind of long. So you have already not even participating. Emmanuel Wilson, running back. Marshawn Lloyd with a groin, running back. They're not practicing. Christian Watson, obviously. Dontavian Wicks is out with a calf. John Williams with his back. Colin Oliver, hamstring. Nate Hobbs with the knee. We'll talk about him in a minute. And Kamal Hayden with his hip. He's also a cornerback. Returning to practice, though, is Rasheed Walker, which is great news. The defensive lineman Aaron Mosby with the groin is back. Messiah Swinson, tight end. Another person that's kind of limited still is Savion Williams, the rookie wide receiver. With the concussion. And then during practice today, Warren Brinson exits. I don't know if that was disclosed what he had and how long.
With an arm injury today. That's what he left with.
Okay.
It was kind of vague to tell us a whole lot more than that, but with an apparent arm injury. Yeah.
So to me, like, this is what to me is significant, is when you have guys that are getting injured or have been injured that can't be out there. It kind of messes with the flow of things, especially from Matt LaFleur's standpoint and his point of view. He wants, I think, to run those guys, but at the same time, double-edged sword. He can see players that are up and coming to put a little more pressure on the depth of each position. But you just hate to see the big one, Ren. Well, there's two big ones, I think. That would be Nate Hobbs, left with a knee injury a couple days ago, or was that on Sunday maybe? No, I think Sunday was day off.
I believe it was Thursday or Friday of last week.
Oh, it was last week already. Holy crap. That time has been flying.
Because he was not out at family night, which we'll touch base on because we haven't had an opportunity since he last recorded. But he was a scratch from that. I think I want to say maybe it was Bill Huber first, or somebody's doing a little digging, and then ultimately they found out he did get the procedure done, and ultimately will miss 3 to 4 weeks, which hopefully leaves him, because as of the announcement of that, obviously the Lions game was still a month away.
Yeah, he needed surgery to repair partially torn meniscus in his knee. So hopefully this is exactly what it's being reported as, is just like a 3-week thing where by the end of training camp this gets over with, because dang, like that to me, like that sucks. You thought you had your cornerback room kind of situated, set. You knew it was kind of on edge to be, maybe an issue, but now you have to look at it and say, okay, what do you do? And we'll get to that, what they did, in a minute. But we heard this afternoon, Travis Glover with the shoulder. He's been not participating anyway. He goes on IR, so we're not going to have him. That kind of shifts things around a little bit with the depth chart on the O line. But when we look, go ahead.
On Glover, as our friend Wendell Ferreira points out on the X machine today, if you place a guy like this on IR while you're in camp, he is not eligible to return all year.
Yeah.
Done. So he is, as a Packer in 2025, he is done.
Which sucks. This is his second year. So what's going to happen to him? It's unknown. Usually this doesn't.
Do they try to reach an injury settlement and let him? Yeah. I don't know what ultimately they end up doing there. But yeah, unfortunate for Travis, obviously.
And, I guess for me, this sucks with the depth situation, but I mean, it wasn't at a critical spot like tackle or center at the moment. You still have the good backups, the good setups for those positions. And with Rasheed Walker coming back, that's awesome. Love to see that. Obviously, Elton came back early last week. So, things are going well. I think we do have a great offensive line. And this for the depth piece kind of stinks, but you look at this list. To me, it's like, dang, that's what's important to me, is who's getting injured and for how long. And the list now is kind of growing. And I don't have it on here, but wasn't there like a leg injury with Kraft? But I think he's back.
He returned yesterday, as a matter of fact, Tay. So you have what is it, today forward? Yeah. So he was back after being ruled out of family night on Saturday. He was back right away on Tuesday. So
it's like, you hate to see those things.
But I think throughout camp, a lot of guys get bumps and bruises, and they just get reported. So how how extreme is the injury versus how minor is the injury. I mean, I know the Emmanuel Wilson one, they dodged a bullet. At first they were like, oh, that could be really bad. And thankfully it doesn't sound like that it will be a long-term thing. Maybe he's out for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, but ready to go there forward. Whereas obviously we know Christian's on that list, and we hope Marshawn Lloyd, I know you talked about a little bit last week, and ever you didn't see some good preseason action, it'd be nice, because we'd like to see what we have there and what we don't. I don't know how John Williams, Tay, if he's out the whole camp, how he can do anything other than maybe make a practice squad, because you show nothing, you're certainly not making a roster. But I think for the most part, the injury report isn't too bad. We hope that the Warren Brinson one isn't anything big, and if that's the case, I mean, most of those guys on the DNP right now are going to be available at some point in the nearer future. The Hobbs one begs a few questions, only because they say 3 to 4 weeks, but how those things go, and then it's 5 or 6 or 7, and we see him week 3. Those kind of things can just tend to go that way. So we'll see what happens.
I'm disappointed with the Savion Williams thing. I want to see this guy out there. It kind of is a prove it thing for me when they what was that 3rd round wide receiver they got? That was kind of like an H-back like 4 years ago that never went anywhere. Excuse me.
I mean, there's a number of guys you can, I think, 4 years ago from, and I know it wasn't MVS, but I think he's back he's in Seattle now, but EQ, or the one kid that dropped everything in camp that never even made a roster, that he was the top pick of those 3, I think. Gosh, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it wasn't the 3 here. Let me just see if I got it here. But I guess to me, like, it's like, dang, I kind of wanted this to be like a prove it thing for this position for the Packers, like halfback, tight end, wide receiver type, big guy to go up and get the ball. I really wanted to see that, and
that's just the interesting thing about him. He's a super interesting talent. He's so big, and he's so fast. So hopefully, over the next few weeks, we'll get to see him intermixed a little bit more. But yeah, I'd like to see what Savion Williams can do, and I'm sure they want to see how he can be used in wrinkles, especially inside the red zone. I mean, that's a big body target, and you're right. To match that up with some other big body targets in certain down and distances would look great for the Packers.
In 2021, we drafted Amari Rodgers in the 3rd round. He wasn't the one I was thinking about, but that's one where you're like,
Amari Rodgers, the man who could not catch a punt today. We will forever remember him as that.
To me, Matthew Golden is kind of like the let's try this again Amari Rodgers thing, but with the first overall round pick and a lot more talent.
It's night and day on the talent thing there. That is one of the obviously camp things for the first couple of weeks is Matthew's been pretty successful. I think they're reporting today like they had certain one-on-one matchups today. It was Golden versus Keyshawn, and Keyshawn got him a couple times, but on the last one, Matthew kind of out-muscles him and snags the ball and gets the best of him in that on one of those big kind of one-on-one passing cornerback battles. So it's going to be fun to watch him all year today, and that's what you want. We wanted a number 1 wide receiver, and he can do it from all the positions. So it's great that while they did use a 1st round pick, he's kind of lived up to the hype so far in early camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is good. I kind of was, I don't know if I was dogging on that whole concept last week, so pardon me. I don't mean to get on Matthew Golden, but my expectations come down a little bit during training camp when everything seems to be, just roses and flowers and everything's great. It's like, I don't know. We'll see. I want to see some preseason action. I want to see the first 6 weeks of the regular season, have him put up some production, see what he's like really out there on the field against, NFL top cornerback play in the NFL.
Oh, for sure, man. That's the thing, because, these cornerbacks have a much harder job in training camp, not really letting, all the quarterback throws for the most part are not going to be with a guy in your face or pressured throws. So, they're playing a more difficult piece of, defending the pass and catch rather than in live action when you hope you're your front seven starts moving things around and make it a little easier on yourself. So, and I've heard some people put it in a pretty good way. But in camp, yeah, the DBs sometimes they get feasted on, and that's just because of what camp is, and those quarterbacks can't be touched, and it is what it is. But camp is kind of one of those, as it's like what's the flavor of the day,
Yep.
I know, obviously, family night, the defense was still the flavor of the day, as they've been, and offense was apparently horrible. They got one touchdown in the final offensive possession of that, not game, but practice, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
They did the punt catch thing with Romeo catching 6 of them with the fans. That's kind of fun. And right before, we got to get back together and missing last week, obviously family night, the story was Omar Brown. You didn't even take in family night. You were here as a Wisconsinite. At least I had an excuse. I was out of state. But Omar Brown had 3 picks in the game. He was an undrafted free agent a year ago who was on the Packers practice squad last year at one point. And, the other story last week was the big sleepy Tay. That was one thing I was looking to, talk to you about. This. I read this whole article right before I left about how Nazir Stackhouse has narcolepsy and he's fallen asleep in games before. And you're reading this like, how can this guy compete for a roster spot if he potentially his teammates would do things to keep him awake on the field at times or make sure that he's awake? That's nuts, man. But yeah, apparently, he's been having a heck of a camp, and you see his teammate Brinson go down today. That just probably helps his case even more if Brinson's out for a long period of time. So,
yeah, it's kind of good to see the defense kind of do well, in camps and in practices. I love that. I didn't get to watch Family Night. I did watch some of the coverage on it later on, but these are busy times, Ren. These are very busy times. Clearly, you were out and enjoyed your time off, so I'm glad you did that. We were able to get out. But Ren, getting back to the Pack, all the injuries kind of mean only one thing. What are you going to do about it, right? So the Packers have done some roster moves. They're not like, it's not like a ton here, but I listed a few here. One of the main ones is, okay, Nate Hobbs left. He's going to be, not available till the start of the season. So they brought in Corey Ballantyne. Corey's been on the Packers before, but he was released, and now they brought him back only because they needed him. They wouldn't have done it any other way, I don't think, right?
Well, so, I don't know. I think he's, based on how thin the room is today, and they've had other injuries, at the cornerback positions, even in the OTAs. I mean, obviously after Indy cuts him, I mean, it's a no-brainer. The guy played your 3rd most special team snaps next year. Obviously Hobbs is out. He played 2 years ago. He played instead of Jair when he went down with another Jair injury in a season, and played, pretty respectable. He knows. He was here last year. It's not like he doesn't know this new defensive scheme and the coaches who are coaching it. So I think it's a no-brainer. And if he doesn't make the team, if he plays reasonably well in camp, I'd be surprised just based on what's behind him as you break season. I mean, sure, it sounds like Micah Robinson is, having a decent camp for a 7th round, drafted cornerback. But, you look elsewhere, it doesn't sound like Kalen King's lighting anything on fire. So,
no.
Ballantyne, with his special team ability, it was kind of, I was like, this is definitely going to happen. You saw the writing on the wall as soon as Indy released him.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I'm glad Ballantyne's back. And you kind of want this type of guy who's been in the system, who knows the players. On Packers.com, he's saying, I like my coaches here. I feel like they helped me get better, and I like the guys here. We push each other to get better. And then, so I definitely would prefer for it to be here over any other team, which is nice to say. I mean, that's what you say as a player, but he probably really means it. I mean, this is where he got his shot. He didn't get a whole lot of playing time on the other teams he's been on. So this is where he belongs right now, and it's a good fit for us since we have some depth issues. But man, the one thing that is gonna screw me up, Ren, is Valentine. Like, I gotta get my V's and my C's straight.
Yeah, I know we'll screw it up, and so will a lot of other people. Today, I think some people call it what the law firm Valentine and Valentine. I mean, it's kind of a funny thing, but yeah, the guy knows the system. He knows a lot of the guys there. He's probably pretty comfortable. I watched a little bit of clip tape on him today already. He's just like right back into, you know, being a Packer cornerback at training camp, like he's been there the last 2 years, which he has. So
yeah. They signed Isaiah Nair, a wide receiver. Honestly, Ren, I don't know why. They've got a plethora of them. Why?
And they have the young what is it, Julian Hicks? Is that his name? Or I don't know his last name's Hicks, but he's been playing really well. I mean, he's one of those guys in those first, second preseason games that's what you watch for, is a guy like that. You know, I don't know what Isaiah Nair is going to do, but he's not getting playing time even again, ahead of a guy like Hicks. It's just there. But hey, if it's a guy, he gets his dream and gets to come play in camp for a couple weeks, man. Good on him.
He's just gonna wonder if it's some Brian Gutekunst has to like fulfill a promise he made like years ago to this one person, and now his cousin made the NFL, and you got to sign him to the roster. It's like, who is this guy? Why not do like more CBs? Why don't you do defensive linemen? Offensive linemen. It's like, if you want a camp body, put him in a position group that you might need him in. Like wide receiver, it's honestly, like, at this point it's too many, and I don't understand that. But
I don't either, and that's a great thing to kind of bring up, like, to be in the head of how Brian Gutekunst and all the regional scouts and other guys, when they're like, who do we call to fill up a 90-man roster training camp? And they're going through all these lists of people and how they come to that and what their reasoning is. When you're reaching so far down, into that, at one point, how many prospects do you really have to pull from? Are you pulling up guys from arena leagues? I mean, it should be amazing to know how they come to, break down that depth, so to speak, that they call to fill out these 90-mans. It's pretty crazy.
And in the last 5 or 10 typically are turned over a lot on teams. You're going to see guys in and out, and that's happened to the Packers already this season, but this preseason. But it's just like, you got to kind of, I don't know, I scratch my head sometimes going, why another wide receiver? But they did bring in Lasita Smith. He is a guard center. This guy is a third-year player out of Virginia Tech. He's 6'3", 314. I think he was on the practice squad or in the preseason last year on the Packers. But they brought him in, which this makes sense to me. Like, you got a guy who obviously can play two positions. Maybe he's way down on the depth chart, but at least you got somebody for those preseason games where you're not starting your starters and you're going to put in third, fourth level people. And maybe they needed another center type, someone that can actually go in there besides Sean Ryan and Elton Jenkins.
Don't forget Jacob Monk today.
And the Monkster, yeah.
But I mean, obviously Travis Glover going out too today. It just, you definitely need another guy on that O-line, no doubt, on your 90-man for the time being. So that one makes sense.
Ren, that's pretty much it for my, roster moves and injuries. To me, kind of like I said it earlier in the episode, that's kind of my thing right now, is like, who's playing, who's available. I listened to Matt LaFleur's press conference today. It was a short one, but I didn't take too much away from it. But he was describing some question that I couldn't understand. I hate watching live streams of their press conferences. They're so low volume, you can't even like hear the question, which I think is almost like a nod and a favor to the Packers beat writers, because then they can put out the question because they were in the room hearing it. It's like so hard to hear. I'm sure everyone that watches that agrees with me. It's poor. But some question about some player, and Matt's like, well, we don't really care that he's not getting the ball or doing something during those drills. See him in action. And I guess his point is like when Matthew Golden catches a 60-yard touchdown pass, or Jordan Love lobs one in for a touchdown. It's like, yeah, that's great and all, that's flashy, but that's not what they're looking at. They don't really care about success. Sometimes they're caring about personnel and being positioned and how fast they got there and what they're doing with their hands and their feet. That's all relevant to them. So yeah, like, what happens in practice is fun and can be flashy and sexy, but in the end, you want Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff to get really good reps out of these players and watch what they're doing and to be able to make good decisions. And Brian Gutekunst too should be out there watching stuff and paying attention, because he's the one bringing in all these players.
Well, yeah, I mean that too, but as far as what I got and gathered from people talking about it with his presser was, he was talking about they need to be more detail oriented, and some people are sick of hearing that, because like you say that all the time. So when are you going to be detail oriented? It's a constant cleanup job, and that's kind of what you're speaking to, as far as it's great when the flashy things happen, but you got to do the other pieces consistently right every day to be a successful professional. And I think some people are just like, okay, well, proof's in the pudding this year. We'll see what the season turns out, but we've heard the same thing enough times where just go out and make it happen. Show us this is a more detail oriented, structured football team that doesn't make some of the mistakes that cost them a few games last year, and ultimately that cost them really competing with the teams that are certainly a little bit ahead of them in the NFC at this point. So. And that also goes to Matt, from some of the things he, didn't handle well last year as well. So,
yeah. Now that you said that, I do remember that early on in the press conference, he was like, we need to be more consistent and stuff. And I was like, dang, he just, I think he was answering a specific question, but he was almost like a general statement, like, yeah, I'm not really happy right now. And it was like, oh, well, I guess this is the time to be unhappy, is during training camp, when you can kind of rectify it. You're not in full steam mode during the regular season, but maybe he's talking about the details, and that's what we all have to really do when we're criticizing the practices, is knowing that we're not looking for the flashy, and football will come, Ren. And speaking of football, man, we've got a game coming up. Ren, we got football this Saturday. Well, albeit a first preseason game. But, we'll take it, right? We're hosting the Jets on Saturday night at 7 p.m. in Lambeau Field. First preseason game. We got Kevin Harlan, play-by-play guy, alongside John
Packer
Kuhn.
Radio, Packer TV network in the preseason. Yep.
Yeah, I love me some Kevin Harlan. He's one of the best.
Everybody does.
Yeah. Oh, so good,
zone,
so good.
Can't not love some Kevin. He's an excitable fella.
But it kind of like we're getting misses, right? We're getting the Jets at the wrong times, right? We're not getting Jets with Aaron Rodgers, which is kind of like a little sad. It's like, okay, we got the Jets last year, I think, and then
year prior,
year before that, and now this year, no A-Rod, but they have a new coach, Aaron Glenn, head coach of the Jets. I'll remind you that Justin Fields I think there's their number one quarterback, number 7, Justin Fields.
Isn't he one? Still wears number 1 or no? He changed it.
I think he's number 7 now.
Okay, he's grown up. Good for him.
Yeah, he's gaining digits, but obviously he came from the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. So him and A-Rod switched teams basically. But notable players that you'll know from the Packers, Josh Myers, center, number 71 still. I don't think you'll see him on Saturday. You probably shouldn't, but who knows what they're doing over there with their football team. And then obviously Alan Lazard is still on the team. Not sure how long, but he's still there, number 10. Watch out for him.
When will he be in Pittsburgh? That's what we all wonder.
Right. You just need a injury or something, or a weird trade to happen. Yeah. So there's it's a preseason game, Ren, but we got football, Packers football, and you gotta love that.
Heck yeah, man. I mean, we have Packer football every week now till early January for sure, and then hopefully late January as well, and maybe February too, Tay. But yeah, there's Packer football here on out every week for many weeks, and until we get to the dead of winter. So it's exciting, and it's really not these games, Tay. Just like every day at training camp, they're going to generate storylines, right? But it's for the young guys. It's really about these, second, third, fourth string guys that get an opportunity to play in games. And some of those guys highlight themselves potentially, maybe they're never going to make the team, but maybe make a practice squad. You look at guys like Micah Robinson. He's going to probably get a ton of playing time and get to, hopefully showcase his talents and show us what we have. I mean, I know a lot of people believe the Packers, while they don't have enough superstars, have a ton of depth just about at every position. So the Isaiah Simmons of the world, the, Teron Hoppers, some of these young old line guys they have in the year with Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton. What are they going to look like? Because I know in family night they didn't look so good, Tay. Rasheed Walker better have that starting left tackle job to start the season, in my opinion, Tay, because I don't think anybody's come even, we're only 10 days in or whatever, but close to, being able to hold that down other than him. But yeah, all those young guys, Tay, that the Hickses of the world, the wide receivers like that, like they go ball out, have 2-3 touchdowns in a preseason game. I mean, those are the fun storylines. Then we get to talk about a game and, again, who stood out as instead of today I was the Edgerrin Cooper day at camp and Bull Melton. Yeah. Bull Melton had a pass breakup and a pick today at camp. Today. That's awesome. But now you get to put it into game action, which is fun.
A quick anecdote I had from a family member tell me they went to family night and I was talking to him and he was like, yeah, I was like, oh man, how was it, in the bowl or whatever? He's like, well, it would have been fine, but I wasn't in the bowl. We were up in one of the suites and I'm like, how'd you pull that off? And he's like, they just assigned them to me. Like he bought 12 tickets as a package together for, the family to go, and they assigned them up in the club seats.
Nice.
And I was like, wow, okay. So that can happen just for
Which
next year.
Which would be fun, but I would rather be in the bowl myself, too.
Yeah.
I'm a bowl kind of guy.
I'm just saying, for anybody who hasn't been up there, and experienced it, you got to at least do it once or multiple times. But, a lot of those can have the windows open and you can hear all the crowd and stuff. So, but anyway, I thought that was cool. It's like you buy a regular ticket, you think, and then you show up and you're up in the box. You're like, holy crap, experience something you've never experienced before, especially if it's your first time. But if you haven't been able to go to Packers training camp, this weekend obviously is the first preseason game. We get a second home game in 2 weeks after that. The Seattle Seahawks come into town. That's a joint practice 2 days earlier. And then the second preseason game against the Colts, we're going down there. And I think there's a joint practice with the Colts still planned. So there's still
in Indy.
Yep, in Indy. So you're talking tomorrow, 1, 2, 3, 4 more joint practices that you can attend, and then you get technically 2 games you can attend to. So if you haven't been to training camp, man, try to get there. It's a great time. We usually go once, and we kind of already did that, so we'll see.
I don't know. I'm still circling the 21st to see if I can make that last one happen today.
Yeah, that one would be cool. The joint practices.
You might need to circle that one too, but that said, it's almost over again today. It's basically done. For those that like family night, again, I always encourage everybody to go to all those secondary ticket sites. You get those things for $10-$20 at the most. People are literally giving these tickets away. You want to take your son or daughter or for you to actually see a real game that's not a real game, but an actual game with Packers and playing another team. Go do it, and you can do it for not a lot of money.
Yeah. All right, Ren. Well, that's all I got. Let's get out of here until next week when we kind of get to see the Packers, I guess, in game action over the weekend. Not as much as you want, not a regular season game, but whatever. We'll have some football. Can't wait.
Heck yeah, Dad. Heck yeah, Tay. It's like, Saturday night, man.
Yep.
get your favorite beverage, get a snack, sit down, and watch some darn Packer football, man. It's here. It's awesome. You just hope, that everybody comes out relatively unscathed, no major injuries, and we're good.
That's right. That's right. I want to thank everyone showing up in the stream tonight, leaving comments. Thank you very much. As always, I appreciate all the support you guys have give us, and look forward to keep giving you content. So thank you.
Yeah, Tay, until episode 323, Tay, on the pup list.